Okay, so on this one, you're as simplified as you can be, there's nothing you can take out. What are the excluded values? What can D not be?
Zero.
Can't be zero, because if D is zero, then that makes the entire denominator zero and it does not work. Okay, if I look at this one, and I see the numerator really doesn't look like the denominator, does it? But if I see a 5 and a 10 and an x, to me it's starting to signal, hey, maybe we can factor something out. So I know I can pull a 5 out of both of these and I can pull an x out of both of these. So I would change the top and say, let's pull out a 5x. 5x times y gets me this first term. 5x times 2 gets me the second term, and it looks like that. Okay. Then I've got x squared and y squared. Does that help me out at all? Not really, right? It doesn't look a whole lot better, but at least I gave it a shot by factoring. I don't think there's really much that we can do at this point. I suppose since we could take out an x, right? 5 times x times all this, x squared. So we could get rid of an x here and one x here, right? And do something like that, y squared times x on the bottom. It's a little bit more simplified, but not a ton. What can x not be? What can y not be? No,
Zero.
can't be zero for either of those, right? It would make the entire denominator zero. Now, I want to go back here. Let's go back to this one and this one. We were looking at these and we were saying, well, what can the denominator be or not be, right? And because I simplified this whole thing, we had said 2a, a can be everything. I made a mistake before, and I was kind of double checking myself. And the same thing down here, we said, well, normally z can't be 2, that would make the denominator 0, but since we simplified it, it should be good. Let's try graphing those. Let's just do the top. Well, maybe that's not going to work. I take that back. I try. Maybe later I'll try to pull that up and see if I can show you a graph of why this won't work. But we would still exclude 2. Even though we can simplify it to this, we do go back to the original and say, if I plugged 2 in for z here, it would make the whole thing 0. So it would be an excluded number. Same thing here. 0 would have to be an excluded number, even though we can simplify it to this.
Then why do we even need to simplify?
Well, we simplify for the sake of using simpler numbers. But what we're going to end up doing with this is finding information based on graphing it. And not every single value that you plug in for a variable is going to work on a graph. Hopefully it kind of explains it. Yes, no? Not really? That's coming down the line in a little bit, okay? Let's try these two. I'll do one with you. They both look a little trickier, don't they?